You're watching SceneTV, and I'm Maya McNulty, your host, Schenectady Cable Entertainment News and Events. We are so delighted to have Laurel McAdoo on our show. She is the executive producer and director of Myles of Smyles. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's get right in. Let's dive in and let's talk about your little man.
My man, my Myles McAdoo. Oh boy, so I am the proud mother of twins, Myles and Marcel McAdoo. They were born October 15th, 2002. When 10 days before Myles's third birthday, he was diagnosed with a medulloblastoma, which is a brain tumor on your medulla. And we fought bravely, tirelessly for 6 years. He had surgery followed by radiation for 2 months and a year's chemotherapy regimen. We were patients at the Children's Hospital at Albany Medical Center. Through this time, I always say, we kind of grew up in this world of pediatric cancer. You don't really know that it exists until you're thrust into it and you see how many people's lives are affected by pediatric cancers. And because he had a twin, it was always the three of us. So if Myles had an appointment, we were all there with his appointment. When he was giving blood, when he was having radiation, whatever he was going through, it was always the three of us. Because we kind of grew up in this world and was so involved in the community, Myles became a spokesman of sorts for the Children's Hospital. We did a lot of giving back through the community. He did events for Freihofers, just an awareness about the programs and how awesome it is to have the hospital be local and be able to get the treatment that we were able to get. So unbeknownst to us, we were going along this journey and giving back to the community, and I was telling a great story of Myles's journey and his recovery. And January of 2012, during his last scan, we were going to be celebrating his 5 years of being, I like to say, clean and sober from cancer. He was re-diagnosed with another brainstem tumor, and this tumor was going to be the one that got him. So at the age of 9, he was diagnosed with this fatal pontine glioma on his brainstem, and he ended up succumbing to that diagnosis July 24th, 2012. So we're about to approach the 2-year anniversary of his death. But the cool thing about Myles is he wore his cancer as a badge of honor. He never saw it as, poor me, I've got cancer. I remember early on going into the hospital and just kind of seeing the stress all on this mom's face. And in that moment, I had decided that I didn't want to carry it like that. Mm-hmm. And I must have done a good job, because Myles thought having cancer was the greatest thing. If you were to talk to him, he'd be, I have cancer. And from his experience, he was on billboards and on the TV, and, he got to do all this great stuff. So from his experience as a child, cancer was pretty cool. And Marcel was his sidekick, and as far as Marcel could tell, it was pretty cool too, because he reaped all the benefits of Myles having cancer. So part of that conscious decision also was I could never tell Myles that he was dying. If he ever asked, I would have never lied to him, but I was never able to say those words to him. I had to tell my older son. That was a really hard conversation. About a little less than a week before he died, I had to tell his twin brother, and that was a really hard conversation. But up until that point, those 6 months that we had, we I say we partied like rock stars. We lived life. We traveled. I was able to figure out what his bucket list was through great friends who did lots of fundraising for us. And he was big. Like, Myles was larger than life. He was the mayor of his little school. He had a generous, kind, giving, inclusive spirit. And it only felt right when he passed away that I continue to honor him. I continue to be able to tell his story. I continue to be able to talk about him, and in my own way, pay it forward through all of the people that donated for us to be able to have such great experiences his last 6 months, to be able to do that for other families. I feel like we were lucky in a way because our experience was so long. A lot of people were familiar with his story and with his journey, and it wasn't anything that we were ever ashamed of. So we were kind of out there and easy for people to say, oh, they're going through this, let's help them. That's not everybody's story. Some people, it gets hit very hard for them.
Sure.
And they can't get up, they can't move on, they can't move past it. So they don't have the resources that we have. But they do now, because I founded the Myles of Smyles Foundation. I made our mission very broad. So my mission is not about little brown boys with cancer. It's not about cancer. It's not about, it's not anything finite. It's very large. So my mission is providing smiling faces in needed places. And however families are impacted in a critical way through a medical condition, we can step in and we can give you a smile. That might be gas cards, that might be airbed while you're at the hospital. It might be, we had a little boy who we were lucky to partner with Maddie's Mark Foundation, and we gave him a birthday party, and out of his birthday party and that story, we were able to then be involved in a dream he had to meet Tom Brady. Like, that's our big, like, I met Tom Brady. That was pretty awesome. I didn't realize how awesome he was until I met him. But when I look past over the year, I thought, we do little big things for people. It's those things that, having gone through it myself as a parent and as somebody that's middle class, it affects you financially in ways that you just can't imagine. It affects your family in ways that you can't imagine. But I can. So I get to show up at the hospital, and at first, sometimes they're just kind of looking at me because, like, who's this strange woman coming in offering help? So usually the first time it's like, no, we're okay. But then the second time that I come in and I take you down to lunch because you've been there for 10 days and I leave money for you, then, they know, like, okay, this woman gets it. She's been here. She understands the impact on the family. I understand that it's not comfortable staying in the hospital, so I can bring you an air mattress, which might not sound comfortable, but it's so much more comfortable than a chair. I've been able to be a rock for these families. A lot of people don't really understand how I can do it, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me. I am honoring my son's memory. The thing that sums it up best for me, this little boy who had never met Myles, but he was the recipient of the foundation. He told his mother that he was no longer afraid to die because he knew when he died he had a friend waiting in heaven, and that was his angel friend Myles. And he carries my business card around with Myles's picture, and he tells everybody. And he never met Myles, never got to know him, but you can't tell him that he does not know who Myles is, and he
Such
sees
a good
Myles.
story.
I know. He sees Myles as his guardian angel. And that, to me, sums up everything that I do. Because Myles is still relevant. Myles is still here. It's been great for me. It's been a great journey for his twin brother to be able to pay it forward and have these experiences that some would consider horrific for him to have gone through all that he's gone through in his 11 years. But Marcel has the empathy that no other, 11-year-old that I know has.
So tell us about some of the things that your organization is doing and how you're seeking funding to do all these things to help these cancer patients.
We seek funding. Most of our funding comes through donations, and most of our donations are through events. So I kicked off the opening of the foundation last February with a gala, and that raised money. Most of the money comes from donations that we get from the community, where we can have a silent auction, because the events usually pay for themselves. So usually the money that we charge covers the actual event. But through raffles and different things, we're able to make some money. Last year we had the gala, we had a golf tournament, we've got another one coming up, and we had a 5K family fun run. And that was the money. Not huge money, but it's money that makes a difference. Today, I'm very excited. We got our first grant from the Capital Region Community Foundation. And that is going to be amazing, because they gave us the latitude to be able to help families however we see fit. Particularly families that are impacted with head, neck, and spine injuries or cancers or tumors. And I was able to ask them today, I said, I have a little boy who is 9, who's stolen my heart, who was diagnosed in December with rhabdomyosarcoma, which is, I believe it starts out, it's a cancer in like the muscles or the tissues, but it is now affecting him neurologically. And I said, is this a family I can help? And they said, absolutely. They would be honored that this family be a recipient of, a gift. And they simply want, a pool in their backyard, a pool that you can take up and down.
Pool, yeah.
Just for he's the oldest of 4. He's got a 4-year-old little sister. They're going to be confined to their home because of his diagnosis. So they want to have somewhere for the family to be able to go out in the backyard, and still life has to happen while you're dealing with this.
Sure. What, how rare was Myles' disease, or is his
So
disease?
medulloblastoma apparently is really not that rare. It's one of the, if you can say that you're lucky to have a pediatric cancer, it's right up there with like a leukemia.
Okay.
The pontine
You're so
glioma.
positive. I'm like a wreck listening to you. I'm like, oh, this poor woman. And you're just like, okay, well, here it is. We have cancer. Let's, stand up tall.
Yeah, we did. We stood tall. We stood proud. His pontine glioma on his brainstem was not as common. Unfortunately, the treatment from his first cancer is what caused his second one, but we would have never gotten those 7 years without treating the first one. So it happens more and more and more than I think any of us want to believe. Just when you think you can sigh a relief that you've beat something, it can come back. There's a lot of families that we've helped with that coming back, because that's the journey.
Is that how you found your strength to be able to share the story and to get past? I mean, you'll always think of your little man Myles, but is this how you're finding the strength just to educate people and give them knowledge and give them hope?
And to know that they're not alone, because as much as people can say, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And really mean it,
Uh-huh.
you don't know it. You just can't possibly know what it's like to be told that your child has cancer. You cannot possibly know what it's like to be told that your child is going to die. You cannot possibly know what it's like to lose a child unless that's actually happened to you. So I believe that Myles's journey and my journey and Marcel's journey is to be able to be here and help people.
This is your purpose.
Yeah, through this.
Great. Do you have educational classes for parents? How do you reach out to parents to educate them? Do you have a list at the hospital that they call you and say, hey, come on, we've got XYZ person and parent, child? How do you keep in touch with these people?
It's a very fine line.
I assume it's very private too.
It's private. There's HIPAA. We are a part of the Capital Region Childhood Cancer Coalition. We work very closely with the hospital. My experience is my experience. Myles's experience was his experience. So I'm very careful. I can't give you medical advice. I can't say to you, well,
you're there for support.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A shoulder. So
absolutely.
I love, on your business card, I see that you have, it's a little tagline that you have, putting happy faces in needed places for families facing life-threatening challenges. I think that is beautiful. How'd you come up with that?
So from the moment Myles was born to just before he died, the thing that everyone remembered about him was his smile. When I sit down and I read the notes that people left me at the celebration of his life that we had, everyone always referred to his smile. His classmates referred to all of his struggles. The radiation and the chemotherapy caused hearing loss. He wore hearing aids. It caused IQ loss. It caused loss of mobility. But through all of Myles's deficits, he smiled. He was always happy. He always lifted everybody up around him. Absolutely.
The challenges.
Absolutely.
So, makes sense.
So that, when I sat in and I really thought about who Myles was and how I could honor him, that's how I came up with
that.
His tagline.
And so you have your mission is to provide support and services to family just in the Northeast, or are you expanding to other families?
We're just right here right now. We're in the Northeast where we can touch people, where people can understand that, if you make a donation to the foundation, somebody in the community is going to benefit from that donation.
Okay, so let's talk about keeping the spirit alive of your foundation and Myles of Smyles. What can people do to help you? Help your foundation?
So the biggest thing that people can do is spread the word that we're here. I have no idea how people are getting sponsors. It would be so much easier if I could get business sponsors for my events, because then the money that we raise, really, we don't have to pay for our events. It can really go back to the families. We are a nonprofit 501c3. There's nobody on payroll. I have little expenses for, my constant contact or my mailbox or our stationery, but 90% of what we raise goes back to the families. I like that we're small. I like that I can get a phone call and I don't have to have a board meeting to say I'm going to go help somebody, because when your child is dying or when you're in these critical moments, people don't have time to fill out paperwork and wait 6 to 8 to 12 weeks to hear back about what you can do for them. They need help in the moment.
Yeah, it's an emergency.
It's right, right.
So, I want to say the date for your Glow Run, The Great Escape, is coming up soon. So is that something that you're going to do annually at The Great Escape, the Glow Run?
I'm not sure. The Great Escape loves Myles because Myles was the ambassador of a walk in the park 2 years in a row for them. So they got to meet him, meet his big spirit. He raised, I don't even know how much money for the hospital through them. So this is their way of, paying it forward and giving it back to the foundation. So I'm really happy to be able to work with them. I'm happy to be able to work with the Golub Foundation. They just granted us a sizable amount for a inclusive playground that we have built in the Bethlehem community that is a community playground for everyone. That is the thing I'm most excited about. We're going to dedicate that closer to the anniversary of Myles's death. And what I realized when Myles was dying, when he was in his wheelchair, I took Myles and Marcel to the crossings, and Marcel could play, but there wasn't anything for Myles to do. And if there was somewhere to take that, that maybe for Myles, Marcel wouldn't be able to benefit. So most kids have siblings. So I'm really happy that there's going to be a place in Myles's namesake that's bright orange, which is his favorite color, and bright green, which is Marcel's favorite color, that's inclusive, that has pieces for differently abled children, to be able to come with their friends and with their siblings. We're going to have a buddy bench. I'm all excited about my buddy bench. It's going to be Myles's buddy bench. So if a child is at the playground and they don't have a buddy and they want somebody to play with,
it's very sweet.
They can come and sit on the bench, and somebody will know they need a friend, and they'll have a friend. And that's Myles's spirit. Mm-hmm. So many kids, I can't even tell you how many kids came up to me after he had passed away and said, Mrs. McAdoo, Myles was my only friend, or Myles was the only kid who ever stuck up for me when other kids were making fun of me. Mm-hmm. Myles's heart was as big as his spirit was. So to be able to have this place, this inclusive place for children to be able to come and play in his memory is just amazing to me.
Great. And you also have a gala that you put together, yep. And that's coming up in July. So tell us about that, and you're looking for sponsorship. It's July 14th. Where's it going to be?
So July 14th is the golf event. Uh-huh. That's going to be at the Albany Country Club. We are looking for sponsors. We're looking for golfers. That's just another one of those events that we're able to get businesses. Most of our golfers are men, but we have a lot of women golfers too, to just kind of come out, get a chance to play golf at a great private club that you normally would not get a chance to play at, mm-hmm. which is why we picked them. Have some food, hear about Myles, and support our mission.
Great. If we wanted to get in touch with you, how do we do that?
MylesofSmyles.org is our website. We are also on Facebook. We have a Myles of Smyles Foundation. I'm better at keeping up with our Facebook presence than my web presence. That's something we're working on, trying to get people to understand our family stories. We have some of our family stories on our website right now, and our events are on our website and our Facebook page.
Okay, great. So again, what was the website?
It's Myles of Smyles, so it's MYLES of SMYLES.org.
Okay, super. Anything else you'd like to share with us today about Myles? His spirit is so bright and big. I just want to give him a big fat hug.
He would. If he was here, he would give you a big fat hug, and he would giggle, and he was just bright, chubby-cheeked energy. He was he truly was an angel on earth, and now, he's an angel in heaven, and his gift to the world continues to be given through the foundation and through myself and his brother.
All right, Laurel, I want to thank you so much for sharing Myles' story with us today. It's an absolutely beautiful story. Thank you so much. And your mission, MylesofSmyles.org, I hope everybody gets involved.
I hope so too.
And comes and attends your golf outing.
We need your help.
Yes, and also maybe go to the Globe Run in the Great Escape.
Yep.
So very exciting. I'm happy and proud of you. Congratulations on your first grant.
Thank you.
Very, very cool.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This episode is sponsored by SEO Mechanics Darcy Knapp.